In the winter of 1781, in the heart of Eastern Europe, Princess Elira of Varestia prepared for her coronation at the age of 17. The people adored her golden-haired, soft-spoken, and known for her fierce intellect. She was the last living heir to a dying royal bloodline, a symbol of hope for a crumbling empire. But as fate would have it, her downfall would from a rival kingdom. Or a betrayal, it would begin with a small reddish bump on her left cheek, just below the eye. It appeared one morning like an insect bite, barely noticeable beneath her powdered makeup. The royal physicians examined it and dismissed it as a minor irritation. Perhaps a clogged pore, one said. A slight reaction to perfume, said another. Elira winced whenever it was touched, but they reassured her it was nothing. The palace carried on preparing for her coronation as her bump slowly turned darker and more swollen. Within days, it had become tender, red, and raised so much so that her makeup couldn't hide it anymore. Behind closed doors, her handmaids whispered about how her beauty was being stolen by something unnatural. One evening, while brushing her hair, Elira noticed the skin around the lump was pulsing. It felt hot to the touch. She ran her fingers along it and winced as a thick, warm fluid oozed slightly from its center. Her chambermaids screamed when they saw the stain on her collar. The royal court demanded she stay in her chambers until it healed, but it didn't. The infection spread. Her cheek turned purple, then nearly black, and a foul smell began to fill her room. A traveling French physician was summoned in secret. When he arrived and examined her in candlelight, his face turned pale. He requested everyone to leave the room. Moments later, shouts were heard as she wailed in pain. The doctor had tried to drain the abscess with a heated blade, but it exploded across the bedsheets, releasing an unimaginable stench and yellow-gray fluid. It had burrowed deep beneath her skin, forming tunnels of infection, eating into the tissue behind her eye. The swelling caused her eyelid to remain shut and misshapen. The next day, she woke up murmuring strange things, claiming she saw a figure in the mirror mimicking her, but smiling when she cried. Her breathing was erratic. She barely recognized her maidens. The French doctor tried to apply poultices of honey and herbs, but was too late. He told the court she had developed septicemia. The infection has entered her blood, he whispered. She is dying. But the king, her father, refused to accept it. She will sit on the throne, even if carried, he demanded. As the coronation neared, her fever worsened, her lips cracked in blood. Her skin turned pale with patches of blue. Still, she was forced to try on her ceremonial gown, even though she could no longer stand. No one was allowed to speak of what was happening. In the eyes of the kingdom, the princess was radiant and healthy, but inside the palace she was rotting alive. The morning of her coronation, a closed carriage arrived to take her to the cathedral. She was placed inside, eyes half open, lips trembling. It was said she looked like a porcelain doll, beautiful, lifeless. As the priests waited inside the cathedral, thunderclouds rolled overhead. The crowd gathered, cheering wildly, unaware that behind the embroidered veil sat a girl whose body was in shock. Moments before arriving, Elira's heart stopped. Her head fell forward, chin resting against her gown. The maid beside her gasped, but was instructed to keep going. "We will not humiliate this kingdom with weakness," said the captain of the guard. They carried her into the cathedral, holding her up between two handmaidens who silently cried, pretending to smile. As the royal prayer began, a drop of dark fluid escaped from her veil and hit the marble floor. A single priest noticed. His hands trembled. Elira stood for nearly 20 minutes before collapsing at the altar. Gasps filled the cathedral as the crown fell from her head. The physician ran forward, but it was too late. The secret had finally cracked. Whispers turned into screams as people saw her face sunken, misshaped, bruised with rot. The news spread within hours. "The princess has been poisoned," said one rumor. She was cursed by the North Witches, claimed another, but none dared say the truth, that a Pimple had killed her. Her father ordered the royal scribes to erase all records of her final illness. Official scrolls declared it was pneumonia. Her room was sealed, her portraits destroyed. The throne remained empty for another 10 years. But decades later, in 1842, a young historian named Marek found a set of personal journals belonging to one of Elira's handmaidens hidden behind a loose stone in the palace wall. They described every detail: the pus, the pain, the hallucinations, the screams, the cover-up. Marek published the findings anonymously in a banned book called The Flesh Beneath the Crown. He claimed that the royal family had a long-hidden genetic disorder, one that caused aggressive abscesses due to faulty immune response. The book was burned. Marek vanished. To this day, the story remains taboo in Varestia, but older villagers still whisper it by firelight, how a tiny red bump brought down an empire. And they say that on cold nights, if you walk past the ruins of Elira's palace, you'll hear faint scratching behind the sealed walls of her chamber. Some believe her spirit lingers, trapped in the final moments of her pain, unable to rest because no one ever spoke the truth. Not until now.